Geocachomaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome to Geo Gearheads. This is episode 510. We're talking about vehicle navigation. We've only done this one time before, so there's going to be some changes since we talked about it last. You may not know, I'm Chris of the Northwest, along with our host, Daryl W4. Geo Gearheads is a weekly show about geocaching and geolocation games, or, just trying to figure out where you're going, like tonight. How you doing, Daryl?
Doing well. And this was actually brought up recently from one of our listeners. We've talked about vehicle navigation so many times before. It's been a while since we dedicated a whole show to it. And the last time we dedicated the whole show was pre CarPlay and Android Auto. And
Are you
most
kidding
of what
me?
we talked, no, I'm not.
Wow.
It might have been like right there, but I don't think we talked about it at all because it wasn't a thing yet. You couldn't get a car that had AirPlay or CarPlay or Android Auto in it. So most of what we talked about was the like Nuvies and using the apps on the phone, but on the phone. And Pizza Ninja wants to know which Geomobile is on my t-shirt. And this is the new Bronco.
Oh,
which I might add, I got the shirt for free from Ford at the Dream Cruise.
At the what?
At the Woodward Dream Cruise.
Dream Cruise. Okay.
Yes.
I
also known as the Dream Traffic Jam.
Yeah, well, Dream I might want to cruise, but I can't.
Yeah. It's an interesting phenomenon to watch. And we took the electric scooters up there, which got probably as much attention as a lot of the cars did.
No.
Yeah. Well, and we're cruising around kind of away from the cars around all of the exhibits. Because it's like, remember the sidewalk sales in the summer?
Yep. Imagine
that times 100 with lots of vendors and stuff doing their booth.
Okay.
So it's, there's like the little shopping center parking lots that are turned into, like the carnival vendor areas where, here, have a free sample of, XYZ, dish soap and have a free shopping bag. Here's a drink cozy. And in Ford's case,
what am I going to do with all this?
Here's a free t-shirt of the Bronco. They also had one for the Mustang E-Mach.
So
Mach-E. Is it Mach-E? I was thinking
Mach-E.
it was E-Mach. Oh, okay.
I just saw it on the former Tonight host show. Do I say his name? Do we?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, Jay Leno's TV show.
Yeah, the Garage.
Yeah. That's a lot of fun. It's got the equivalent of the race version has the equivalent of 1,400 horsepower. An electric car.
It's supposed to be insane, and we have a whole bunch of them driving around out here.
I haven't seen one yet.
Really weird.
Well, I have seen one, and I don't like the shape of them.
No. I keep looking at it going, okay, so that's the same as the new Escape that I didn't want to buy. Just with a big plastic cover over the grill.
Is it?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, because it's technically a Mustang. The CEO of Ford said it was their first all-electric car, and they wanted to do the Mustang to show that they're really into performance. And my computer locked up.
Well, on this side, we can at least hear you.
Okay, I can't see a thing, so...
You just don't have the video.
I'll just hold my breath.
Until it locks up entirely and we can't hear you anymore.
What? Okay.
Well, what you want to go reboot, and I'll actually read the email that we got from JR and Juju. Randy says that, did you do where it goes? Okay, I have found while using my Android phone connected to Android Auto in our car, you can get in-dash navigation. This works when you use CGeo, GeoGo, the geocaching app, and the Adventure Lab. All you have to do on the app on the phone is set it to use Google Maps for the navigation, and then you have your media/navigation in your vehicle set to Android Auto. I don't know how this would work with the iPhones, but it should work the same. I recommend you download offline maps on the Google Maps app while on Wi-Fi. So a couple things. First off, the download of the offline maps in Google Maps app is a very, very good suggestion. I always like to do that, keep my local maps updated, but you can do that for any of the areas that you're going to visit. All too often, I find when I'm traveling, for whatever reason, service just isn't good enough that the maps don't want to load quite right. But at least if the maps are cached, and this does work in a lot of the other mapping apps as well, but at least if the maps are cached, it can initiate and do your road routing without problems. So something to take a look at. Then what he's actually talking about with using the Android Auto and the Google Maps is you hit that navigate in another app button, and that happens on iOS and Android in very much the same way, as I understand. One of the things I realized in kind of doing some prep for the show, I don't know a whole lot of people who are using Android Auto anymore, or Android at all, but the people that I had talked to with Android phones simply don't use Android Auto. And a couple of them gave me the same basic response. I do have it. I've tried it. It was a nightmare. I don't use it.
A nightmare?
Yeah.
Wow.
No one, I think, actually said nightmare, but they were talking about how much of a hassle it was.
Okay.
So they don't use it. And none of it seemed to be directly attached to Android Auto being a problem. It was dealing with the head units that are a problem.
Okay.
So like one of them, who happens, I think, to be in the chat room, was saying every time he connects his phone, it has to go through and download all of his contacts and this and that and the next thing. And by the time it's actually ready, he's ready to get out of the car.
Oh.
And I had that.
That's in the not good category.
Well, I had that in the Bluetooth on my Escape. I had to turn off the syncing of the phone book over Bluetooth because it would take 15 to 20 minutes for it to realize that it wasn't syncing all the information. It would time out.
Wow.
I have heard from multiple reviewers how awful both Android Auto and CarPlay are on the wireless. It's completely unreliable. It's a pain to get it to connect. They're all saying the same type of thing about these wireless connections to the head unit. Great idea. Doesn't work yet.
I was looking for a smart head unit. I don't know what you call it, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto type.
Yeah, at this point,
okay.
It's just a head unit that has the connection features. It's like, that's what it is.
And there was only one that offered wireless. And I thought, wouldn't that be nice? And it was, I want to say $500 more than everyone else. Like, I can plug in a wire for $500. That's a lot of plugging in before I think I've hit my $500 limit.
Yeah, it is possible. It's just not good yet, seems to be the consensus. So something to keep in mind right now as we're recording this in 2021. According to a couple of the different car reviewers that I was watching on their YouTube reviews, there are no wireless head units that they can actually recommend in any of the cars.
Okay.
They recommend avoiding it currently.
Actively avoiding it. Okay.
Yes. And we have BSBL
Baseball freak.
Oh, yes, okay. 007. I use Android Auto all the time, but I have to keep the phone plugged in. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. That's the way that it sounds like you should be using it.
Mhm.
And hopefully Baseball Freak 007 can actually pipe up with some more experience using Android Auto during the show, since neither Chris or I have much experience. When I bought this car, like almost 5 years ago, I did have both the Nexus 5X or something like that, but one of the Google phones on Google Fi, and I had my iPhone 6 or whatever it was. And I was so excited because I heard such great things about Android Auto, and CarPlay was kind of, meh.
Right.
Well, CarPlay was kind of meh, but it worked.
Still is kind of meh.
It's gotten pretty good. It still has a lot of problems, especially on mine. But mine has been a problem since iOS 13. The two just don't really sync. They have issues where one will crash the other. So it's a software thing, and Samsung, being Harman, isn't releasing the new software. So, hey, we finished this product. Why do we need to keep it up to date?
We're done. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to the actual topic here, the way to go is the connected, and the thing I've always liked about that is it does do the power, and it doesn't do, in my car at least, it doesn't do more than about an amp. So I don't have the issue of overheating that I have with some of the other chargers.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is it only does about an amp. So if your phone is low, it doesn't really charge it up, especially if you have both screens on.
Right. And I was shocked, Daryl. So my father's car has Apple CarPlay built in. He's got a Subaru, nice big center console screen there. And, it would come up in this little window, barely bigger than the phone. I'm like, that's ugly. Well,
that's bad.
It does work, right? You can do all hands free. You don't have to touch the thing. You've only got the standard apps. And then I don't know. I think I updated to like iOS 14, and it shocked me, and it shouldn't have, because I know this, but I didn't expect it. It took the entire screen and used that, because the intelligence for CarPlay is in the phone, not in the head unit.
Yeah, but same thing with Android Auto. Both of them are a few lines of code that get thrown into the head unit. It really just turns it into, in the case of Android Auto, is actually based off of the Miro standard for screen mirroring. But it is just another display. And with iOS 14, they started passing dimensional data, as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the readjustment based on the size of the screen.
Right. And so you've got a really nice, triple screen display, a map. What's a map?
Well, we have the map, whatever's playing.
Your music. And then what's the third one?
Well, it depends on what you've got going on. It's intelligent with Siri. Mine actually will divide up into 4 segments sometimes, but it will always have the map on the left side. I'll have the controls for the audio down in the bottom right. Sometimes I'll get in the bottom right the next event off the calendar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's
and then
calendar.
Yeah, and then there's some other stuff that shows up that I can't remember off the top of my head. But it depends on what it is, what shows up. What's going on in your life at that time. And then the The thing that bothers me about the new one is the messaging. They haven't gotten the notifications for that right yet, but that's getting away from the navigation. So what I like to do in the car right now is I'll have Cashly open on the phone, hit the navigate to the cache that I want to go to, bring it up in Google Maps, not in Apple Map, but in Google Maps, because I have Google Maps set to map view or to satellite view, which works on the head unit now.
Oh, does it? Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is going to upset a few people. I don't use Google Maps for anything but when I'm caching, because I leave it in that satellite mode.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so handy because, okay, I'm going to go to this cache. Before I go here, let me zoom all the way in. Yep, that's taking me to the wrong side of a fence or river or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the kind of thing that you get in a lot of the others. So I do appreciate that. And a lot of the times, if it's a long drive, I just start driving to it and I'll figure it out as I get there. Because realistically, in most cases, by the time I get close enough, it's zoomed in enough that I can already see that information. So it's just a really handy way to run. And unlike the long road trips, you can have Apple Maps going or whatever you want without that satellite view for the navigation to wherever you're headed. And I leave the phones in a car or in a dashboard mount just sitting right there, and I leave it scrolling along with Cashly. Time for a restroom break. Okay, where's the next rest area? Are there caches? Good to go. Which, many times I take that and pass that to the wife. Let her do that. But because it's cabled, I don't necessarily do that because we've had some problems with the cable getting stuck.
Not long enough, you mean?
It will get caught on like the gear shift or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I was so excited about the wireless stuff. It's not that I don't like the cable, because I do. It's just, the same problem that we dealt with the headphones for a decade, and we just got used to it and lived with it, and we didn't realize how annoying that cable really was, because we were so happy to have, decent sound in our ears from tiny little devices that it was awesome and no one cared.
So in my daily commuter car, I have a power cable just long enough to go from the outlet to my phone, right? I don't want 3 extra feet of cable. I want it just right. So it is, to take it off and to hand it to someone, it's not practical.
Yeah.
But if you leave it I have mine in a car mount, right? In a dash mount.
Sure. Yeah. Same thing.
And then Bluetooth out to my speakers, everything works so nicely. And then, I was looking at these car plays going, oh, it'd be really nice to have all that. Yeah, but I have to plug the phone in.
Okay.
And then you can't. So
this brings up an awesome point. Almost every day to and from work, I just do Bluetooth. I don't plug in the phone.
Okay.
I don't even usually take it out of my pocket. It's sitting in my, jacket or whatever. As I go to and from work, I hit that, media button on the dash, and I go. That's it. I don't take it out. It's only when I'm doing the caching on the weekends, going on road trips, that's when I plug it in. Otherwise, the Bluetooth is all I ever use. Now, if I'm actually trying to listen to something, whether it be, music that's, a little bit more quality,
energetic,
then I plug. Oh, okay. No. Just, like I certainly wouldn't try to listen to classical music over Bluetooth anymore.
You and your thrash music.
If it's something like heavy metal, then it's all noise anyway. I should say that because people offend someone. But there is a lot more noise and a lot less detail in the Bluetooth and the corded connection. Even some of the podcasts and audiobooks, it's noticeable. I've had a few of the audiobooks that weren't recorded very well that I start having problems understanding the audio as I'm driving. And remember how I was talking about the only time I've ever almost run red lights, both times were because of ads. They were so annoying, I had to get the heck out of there, which is why I will not listen to terrestrial radio ever again. Because it's the only place I ever hear ads that annoying.
Mhm.
You know, like one of them was the ambulance sound. It's like, this used to be a law that you couldn't do that. Why is it not still enforced? But
Well, it's not
I
enforced.
literally was trying to get out of the way. But in any case, the audiobooks are so tough to listen to. I found myself like missing turns almost, but you know, it was so distracting because I was having to focus so much on the audio.
Wow. We have Baseball Freak 007. You have to click to get his message up there. It says, it seems the phone and Android Auto don't talk very well over only Bluetooth. I don't think they would. I mean, I think you would only get audio over Bluetooth.
Yeah. But that's how some of the wireless units will work.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding was they still require Wi-Fi, but they go into Wi-Fi direct to act. You know, they'll negotiate over Bluetooth and then go into Wi-Fi direct. Mm-hmm. That might only be for CarPlay. But I thought Android Auto was doing the same thing because there's just not enough bandwidth on Bluetooth to get screen mirroring.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you wanted to do that, you'd have to put some intelligence and some processing power into the head unit, which then limits your upgradability of that head unit to, you know, the next version of the operating system.
Well, and look at the problems that I'm having with my head unit where this thing hasn't been updated in like 4 years. And now I'm having problems because of other things.
The other things.
But yeah, it's, you know, they don't tend to upgrade the firmware for your head unit often, especially if it's a factory installed unit.
Well, and it's not easy to do, even if they do upgrade it. You know, even if they do put out a patch or a firmware update, it's not easy to get it onto your head unit.
It actually wasn't too bad with the sync system that I had, and this one's the same way. You download the file into or onto an SD card, plug in the SD card, tell it to update, and it does it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So it actually worked pretty easily, and I did several sync upgrades with mixed success and the results afterward, but most of the time it worked perfectly well. One time there was some glitch and it stopped working. Yeah, it was actually functioning just not right, and I wouldn't allow updates anymore. So I had to take it in. You know, it was a warranty repair, but it took 2 days to get it loaded. It was an RS-232 connection, so old serial port, which they have one computer in the shop that they use to do these upgrades because it's the only one that's capable of it. And if it fails at any point, they have to start over from scratch, and it's a 2-hour upgrade process at best. Because you're dealing with it. It was like when I was talking with him, it was like a 4800 baud connection.
That is ridiculous.
It's a fail-safe kind of thing. It's built, you know, hardened kind of thing, which is absurd because it doesn't work because they went so far the other way. They would have been better off to just like pop out the chips and pop in new chips.
You know, you'd think there has to be something they can do by plugging in one of the USB into one of the USB ports, right? And ask for your update that way.
On a lot of the newer ones, yes, you can.
Mhm.
I've heard stories about some of them where there's a hidden USB port that they can use. Sometimes it's not even a standard USB-A connector, but pogo pins that they can plug into.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, so there's better ways, but keep in mind that the sync system I'm talking about was designed, I think, 16 years ago now. This was not a modern system when I bought it. It was already the last, it was the last year that they were using that system and the last year for that model of car. So
Wow.
it was already a dead system at that point. It was
Mhm.
toward the end, but Ford, in their defense, did keep it updated longer than anything else I've seen, in cars.
Okay. I did you know I helped test one of the sync systems?
Yeah, recall having this conversation about 9 years ago,
Maybe that seems about right.
where you were out at some racetrack, I
I was
think.
out at the local racetrack. Since Microsoft is working with the sync, right? I was doing some Microsoft testing, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come out, or do you want to do this?" Yeah, it's at the racetrack. Racetrack. What am I going to test there? Maybe that's just where they could get spit. No, there's something I don't. I couldn't think of sync right off the top. And I come out there, and you're in a brand new Explorer with the new sync, and you have to drive 35 miles an hour on a racetrack while looking for they have a list of tasks for you to do. I'm like, but but I can drive faster than 35 on a racetrack. No. Would you please keep your speed under 35? But you're on a racetrack.
It's kind of
Okay.
that the road is not designed to go this slow.
Yes,
It's hard to
exactly.
stay at that speed. Awesome. Yeah. In any case, getting back to the navigation, at this point, that is the way that I do the navigation to the caches, because it's just so quick and easy when it's plugged in to just do it
Mhm.
that way. And the last time we talked about this, I was putting together cache lists and oh shoot, what was the name of that app from Navigon?
Mm, mhm.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
using
man,
Navigon,
yeah.
putting together the lists, going through the list, checking them off, and it's like that was awesome.
And Daryl,
This doesn't have the planning.
I was using my iPad in my
Yes.
Chevy Blazer on a long RAM mount, which I
Yep.
thought was fantastic. Nice big screen to see the map. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And now we have screens like that built into the car.
exactly. Um,
But no, I like doing the CarPlay because it is just so easy. It's right there, and it gets you most of the way there. You still need something like a Cache Torno, the app
mhm.
on the phone. Get your list of caches that way. Go, cache to cache to cache. And the nice thing, that's also a sucky thing. The nice thing is when you do the Google Maps or whatever for your navigation and turn off the screen, you don't get that one more itis kicking in, because now all of
Okay.
those caches that are like
Yep.
just off the freeway but not accessible from the freeway disappear.
Right.
I would very much, however, like to have those caches available on the head unit, because if I didn't have to turn on the screen and I can sit there while I'm waiting for the wife to come back from the restroom or whatever and go and plan, okay, the next time I'm going to do it, or better yet, while driving, have her planning without having to pass her the phone, that to me would be so much nicer.
Yeah. So I would suggest getting about a 6-foot cable for your, connection to your head unit so that you have enough room to pull that phone out, be able to use other apps as well, like Cash Turno, or just
Well,
being able to, help to plan for your next few stops down the road.
well, the solution has been for those trips where there's lots of navigation, her phone's doing the navigation.
Okay.
She plugs in, she's doing it, she's going down the list, works just the same way.
There you
But it's
go.
a little bit different because, it's kind of creepy as the driver that's used to having the phone and control of everything to like just pass it to her.
Okay, I suppose if I have to, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's the little subtle things like her preferences aren't the same.
Mm-hmm.
So the maps work a little differently.
Right.
It's those little kind of things, the way that the notifications present are enough that they set you off a little bit. It's just not quite the same.
Daryl, I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about some other options for vehicle navigation.
Absolutely, yes.
Like, and I think Garmin is the only manufacturer anymore that makes an in-car add-on navigation unit, the Garmin Drive Smart.
They're the only ones I think that have anything that we could recommend. I've seen some other ones out there for, like the RVs have a few different companies doing them. And for those, they actually have some different software. And I think even Garmin makes ones that have the especially RV software. But that is an important thing, is having those additional tools out there.
Right. So,
but the problem that I have with those tends to be that lack of spontaneity. You're going back to the space where what I was talking about before, you build out your list in Navgon, send it to the GPS. It's the same process. You have to pre-plan, which is sometimes a great thing. But it's not so great if you're trying to do hey, we're just going to cache out this area.
At that point, you just put in a new waypoint with coordinates, and out you go, right?
Yeah.
If you need to drive to it.
And again, it's great for handing to the navigator to do that. We've done so many of those power runs back before power trails were a thing, where one of us is driving, one of us is operating the Garmin. That's it. It's like that's what you're doing. So it works.
I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with the Garmin. The only car navigation unit they have is the Drive Smart. But the Drive Smart comes in several models. You can get the 5-inch model, which is probably what we're used to back in the day, right? It's $169. You can get a 6, 7, or 8-inch model as well. So I'm thinking, the RVs tend to have those bigger units because you tend to put them a little farther away from you.
Yeah.
So
and some of those don't even have the touchscreen. They'll have like the cursor that you have to put on the dashboard.
The 8-inch is $350. So
that gets kind of pricey.
It seems a little bit, right?
Well, and you wonder if at that point you're not just better off getting an iPad or, something similar. You can get those cheap, inexpensive, what's it called? The
tablets? Oh, mounts?
Yeah, no, I wasn't going for tablet, but the cheap like Korean tablets, are based on Android with the GPS. Some of them even will have cellular, but you can always hotspot to the cell phone if you've got a cell phone and save the $20 a month or whatever it is for the data plan on it.
Exactly.
So,
but
hotspot
Garmin will give you some other features. Okay, so it does have voice assist and hands-free calling.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, when paired to your Bluetooth phone.
Right. Live traffic and weather. If you have,
which I think it does have to have the app on the phone. For the
traffic, no. I don't know about the weather. It does want the Garmin Drive app on your phone.
Yeah.
For the weather. If you have a Garmin backup camera, it will interface with that. It'll get you live fuel prices. And you can get notifications from your phone up on that screen. And free wireless updates.
Which at this point they have to do because they're competing with the
phone
GPSRs or the phones. Houston, Texas. Dave says that iWife is a good navigator.
It's expensive, and that takes a real commitment.
And then Kendall says I use an app here in Arkansas called iDrive Kansas. Shows highway
Parking,
cams,
Arkansas.
construction. Yes, sorry.
I drive AR Kansas. It must
Wow.
be augmented reality.
Wow. Shows highway cams, construction areas, live weather, etc. And GSM times 2 says that on January 1st, a group of us do 101 on 101. I'm watching my Drive Smart on mute. My navigator is using Waze or Google for turn by turn. When we get close, we switch to satellite view and it works well.
Wow. There you go. So you like the Drive Smart GSM times 2. Interesting. Or
Yeah.
you have it at least. Yes.
Yeah, I do recall him talking about that previously. But even just using the phone with the same type of apps works. Just make sure that you've got something like a good mount that's actually going to keep the phone there, and you don't have to mess with it much.
Leave it to the Pizza Ninja.
Oops, if it will let me click on it.
It says, I use a magic 8-ball for navigation sometimes. Your future looks bright.
Yeah, but I've done many a caching trip just off the cell phone on the dashboard. Especially as the phones have gotten bigger, it's gotten a little bit easier. That's one nice thing about having that bigger phone,
right?
And having it on the phone is that nice, easy switch to get out of the car, and you're going right to the cache. I kind of miss though having the dedicated navigation where I don't have to unplug the cable and I think I've only done it once where I tried getting out of the car without unplugging the phone. But I keep worrying that I'm going to do it.
And it will unplug from one end or the other eventually.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the nice things about the lightning connector is it's very good at unplugging when you're tugging a little bit too hard. I've also blown a couple of the lightning cables in that car because the lightning cable will fall into the puddles in the floor mats.
Oh.
And the cable fries. Not the
there's a chip right there in the end of the
yeah. So it's acting as a shock absorber. So I've blown a few of those cables that way. Usually on the passenger side more than on the driver's side. But yeah, it's not something that you necessarily consider until you've done it a few times and realize, oh, that's what's happening. Yeah, and it only happens in winter because you get that salt water in the
right.
The extra conductivity of the water of the salt in the water.
It could happen in the summer if you've got drink cups there in the center console that you could get some water and maybe
never had that problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and even in the spring we haven't had the problem so much as in the winter. So I really think that the salt giving the salinated water, giving it that little bit of extra conductivity is what's really doing it.
Interesting. Daryl, I think I've said on this show, it could have been up to 9 years ago that I've never had a cable break on me, right? They've always worked. I'm gentle with them. I take care of them. I use them for years. I finally had one fail on me.
Ooh. See, those original Apple Lightning cables, I had problems with no matter what.
You mean like this?
Yep. They were just a little too fragile. I had a few of them that the housings actually cracked on the phone end. Now, the first couple I actually took to Apple and they replaced them. That got a little bit too challenging as people, started buying Apple products more. And now you can't even get into the Apple store for like 3 weeks. Sad. Houston, Texas Dave said night caches down a dark dirt country road using GPS car navs can be fun and scary.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. And that's one thing I will say is that the CarPlay does a much better job of switching day and night mode than the head unit does, but it's using the same sensor.
Isn't it based on sunrise and sunset?
No, if you're plugged in and it has the sensor, it will tell, the head unit will tell if it's in night or day mode. But for some reason, it works better in CarPlay than it does when it's in its own mode. So like if I go through a tunnel, it switches to night mode on the head unit. The phone doesn't switch, but the head unit will switch.
Do your lights come on and that's what's triggering it? Are your lights on
No.
automatic?
Yeah, but I've got the automatic lights, but my automatic lights trigger at a different time than the night mode does. It's actually controlled off the brightness of my dashboard.
Okay.
So if I turn down the brightness on the dashboard, it takes a little longer. But what really annoys me about my automatic lights, they don't turn on with the wipers.
Right. And is it a law in your state
Yes.
that if you've got your wipers going, you have to have your lights on?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the automatic lights on both of the other cars that I've had with automatic lights had that.
I don't believe my Nissan does. My Volkswagen, the lights are on all the time, whether I want them or not. Daytime running lights, or like I say, dealer. That's what it says in there. Oh, you have to go to the dealer, get your lights changed again.
GSM times 2 wants to know where I have tunnels in Michigan. There are no mountains that need tunnels. There are no mountains that need tunnels. But we do have tunnels to get to Canada. Actually, there's the only one. But we have a lot of those highway tunnels where the road that I take to work, if I take the freeway to work, actually has several of these where there's big parks built over the road. So you go through like 1/4 mile long tunnels on a fairly regular interval, like every 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of annoying at the same time. And Kendall says we have one tunnel in our entire state and one active ferry.
One active ferry. Wow.
We have, I think we only have the one international tunnel for vehicular traffic, if you will. But we do have 2 railroad tunnels to Canada. And then we've got the multiple bridges to Canada.
And you're actually north of Canada.
I am north of Canada. I am north of Canada and I am west of Canada.
Yeah, you are north and west of Canada's border.
Yep.
That's
and I am also northwest of Canada's border.
You are southwest of Canada. Anyway, and southeast, you're surrounded by Canada.
Yeah. This is true. Yeah. So I'm surrounded in 3 directions by Canada, but I have at least a little bit of padding of more, Michigan. So if they try to invade, it will take them, all of like 5 minutes.
Yeah. UP's gone. Just consider it gone.
I don't know that the Upers would care.
They might not even notice.
They'll be like, yay, we got rid of the trolls.
Hey, there's an extra person in here. Huh, where'd they come from? Sorry, that was mean.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
but,
so vehicle navigation. Do it with your phone now.
Yeah. Daryl, northwest of Canada, new name.
There you go. Do it, Daryl.
Anyway, no.
How about Daryl NW?
Wow.
All you have to do is add 1 letter
and get rid of 1 number.
Well, it's very similar, a 4 and an N.
No? All right. No. With that, I think we're going to call it because, it's just getting really bad. So check the Cashomaniacs website at cashomaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback. by emailing geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cashmaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron. The link on the website to support the Cashmaniacs shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Hoffenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2021 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cashmaniacs.